Hey everybody, Icy Cat here. With the latest patch update, we got an overhaul to the way Pulse uses his heartbeat scanner. But does this make him a more viable operator? Let's take a closer look in this operator profile update. This video is done as an update to the original operator profile. I'll be covering the way his new scanner changes work, including covering the basics for those that are following that updated operator profile and those that might be new to the game. These new changes completely rework the way Pulse's heartbeat sensor looks, and that's important because some people had a hard time using his sensor. Oftentimes, the main reason you knew you had detected someone was because you'd see one of those little +5s pop up more than anything else. While some people did manage to be really good with him using this old setup, a lot of people reported that they just didn't feel like his heartbeat sensor was giving them really useful information, and it was just too vague in the results that it did give. Additionally, it made the player's view somewhat obstructed and left Pulse ironically a little less situationally aware. Now the scanner looks totally different. You can very clearly see through the screen now, and you've really got a lot more situational awareness than you had before. It used to be kind of blurry looking around, and now it's completely clear. You can see everything. The sensor hit is way more clear as well. Before, the little +5 notification was actually the most obvious way to tell you'd scanned someone, but then it was kind of easy to lose it right away afterward unless they were very close. Now he gets these white rings around the red dot of the heartbeat, and they show up from a pretty fair distance too. In this example we tested, I'm on the airplane over by the galley stairs, and you can see how far away it is before you get that signal. As I run over there, you can see that's a pretty good distance while still being nice and clear. And you can also see that the refresh rate on the scanner is nice and fast, and while it doesn't give you real-time info, it does allow you to track a target pretty efficiently. If they're running around quickly though, especially at a distance, they can still get further ahead of where you might think they are due to that delay. But it's still much higher of a refresh rate than it was before. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of Pulse in matchmaking, as his readout is now much more intuitive and easy to read. People that passed him by before are probably going to find him to be a much more viable pick now. I myself wrote off his ability as somewhat useless before. Not in what it could do, but more in terms of how well it conveyed that information. It just didn't give you as much info as you would have expected, and frankly I found the sensor got in my way more than it helped for the most part. That problem has now been resolved. In fact, it's at the core of why they changed him. They said based on community feedback, as well as internally, they felt that Pulse's design wasn't fulfilling the expectation, or in their words, the fantasy, of using an ability like the heartbeat sensor and wanted to address that issue. And again, I know that there were some people that were able to be really skilled with Pulse even the way he was before, but what this does is it kind of evens out that skill curve. Now, whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing is another topic entirely. For those of you that are newer to the game, he has both a shotgun and an SMG, as well as a choice of pistols. The M1014 is a fairly powerful semi-auto shotgun with 42 damage and is a great recommendation for multi-level roaming. You can use this shotgun to blow open trapdoors and move between floors quickly to flank opponents that you track. The spread of his shotgun makes it pretty easy to get that kill through a wall if you do pick up a heartbeat on the other side. And with 8 shell capacity, you shouldn't run dry too easily on ammo between reloads. On the other hand, if you're more concerned about kills at longer range, then you'll want to go with his UMP-45 submachine gun. It doesn't have any ACOG option, so you'll be limited purely to standard non-magnified sights, but it's fairly accurate and has moderate damage at 38 points. It does have a slightly smaller magazine capacity for an automatic at 25 rounds. It can be a little harder to get wallbang kills with it because you don't have the wider coverage that the shotgun affords you, but you can also lay down more rounds if you need to spray it a bit to shoot through the wall. Either way, it's more than enough to get the job done. Choice of pistols comes down to power versus ammo capacity. The M45, which is essentially the 1911 handgun, weighs in at 47 damage. Now, why the damage is different from the SMG, which is technically chambered in the identical 45 ACP round that they both shoot, I'm not sure, but that's video game balancing for you, I suppose. Those bigger bullets do eat up space in the magazine though, so it only holds 7 rounds at a time. My recommendation will be for the 5.7 USG handgun. It does lower damage at 36, but with a 20 round capacity, you really can't go wrong. In a game where 1 bullet to the head can take out a target, I'd rather have 20 chances to do it before reloading than 7. But to each their own. His secondary loadout is a choice between barbed wire or a nitro cell. And while you can use the barbed wire while roaming to give you sound cues on flanks, it's probably best used for objective defense. I tend to most always go with the nitro cell. Pulse is built for roaming, and when you do, you want to be able to deal with any shield character you come into contact with. He has the fastest possible speed rating of 3, but the lowest armor rating of 1, so while highly mobile, you're not going to want to stick around and slug it out with anybody. He works really well when paired up with Rook, since he can make use of that extra armor without slowing him down. He also works really well with Valkyrie, who can spot and give him further intel as he roams. If you have a castle on your squad, be careful about getting blocked out of certain areas. Pulse's ability as a roamer relies heavily on intel and mobility, and if he gets choked off from certain paths, his usefulness might be restricted a bit depending on where he gets blocked. We decided to test a few things on the scanner and see if there's any issues that might crop up. The first thing was making sure the EMP grenade still took his scanner offline like it used to. This one actually threw me off when we tested it. I thought the EMP didn't work, but then I noticed as I moved off the target, the ping stayed fixed on the screen no matter where I looked because it was in the same spot. I realized that's what's actually happening here. It's not shorting out the scanner as you might expect an EMP to. Like I thought maybe it would be static or blank out the screen or something, but what it does is it actually freezes the current screen image. And if you look closely, you can also see some slight wave distortion. We also tested what it looks like when you're hit but don't have a target on screen already. I think it's possible that you could get hit with an EMP while scanning, and if you're not paying attention, you might not actually realize it. I mean, your screen could get frozen, and then you didn't catch it for one reason or another, and then you think you're still scanning and not getting any hits, when maybe there's a guy just about to break through a door or something. So just watch out for that slight little distortion effect. If you see that on your screen, you know you're actually temporarily offline, but as you can see in the video, it does go away after a bit. Of course, you have other cues too. I mean, if you've been EMP'd, chances are that the lights are going to dim in the area that you're in. You'll probably hear the detonation. Next, we checked if being hit with a twitch drone did anything special or different, but it doesn't interrupt your scan at all. It's just like getting hit by it normally. I had heard some people say that being hit by the twitch drone does actually do something, but it didn't appear to when I tested it, so unless I'm missing something here, it doesn't seem like that's the case. When I announced the pulse change was coming a couple of videos ago, someone asked in the comments if his scanner would now be affected by reinforced walls. And as you can see here, it remains unaffected by that. None of the friendly gadgets interfere with his ability, so there was nothing to share there. Now, IQ has always been able to counter-scan Pulse, but even after all the months the game has been out, there's still people who just don't know this. Or maybe who do know it, but it really doesn't occur to them when they play it very often. Now that IQ can display range and an outline of the object, she just displays Pulse as a series of pings on her scanner, not really any specific shape. This is the same thing you see when you're playing Terrorist Hunt and you detect a bomber. It shows up as that same kind of generic ping without an outline, but it's moving around. They can counter-track each other all day, but the difference is that IQ can hold out her pistol while doing so and gives her just a little bit of an advantage over Pulse when it comes to the reverse wallbang shot. Her range of detection is also slightly longer than his, at least it appears to be. Pulse will only show up on her device when he's actively using his scanner though, whereas IQ will always register on his scanner whether she's using hers or not. An interesting note is that if you want to mask your detection signal from IQ while scanning, crouch next to the objective, and you're going to look very similar to that from her perspective. While the bomber container may show up as an outlined device, it also emanates a series of rings just like you would too. You may show up as a ghost ping next to it, but it's a somewhat effective way to blend your ping signature into the environment in a pinch if you're in the objective room. One final tip for Pulse, which again is not new, but some people may not realize, is that while you have a delay when you put the scanner away, you can actually bypass the animation and immediately pull out your weapon by pressing the swap firearm button while scanning. If you let go of scan and then hit swap button, you'll still have to wait for it to finish the animation, so be sure to press swap while you're still actively scanning to bypass the animation. This appears to be an intentional part of the game because it's been that way since launch, despite some people insisting it's a glitch. If it is, then it's one they never bothered to fix. The switch is instant and can allow you to really get the drop on somebody. If you do it the normal way and they're moving quickly, that might be just enough time for them to no longer be where you thought they were a second ago. With the instant switch, you're sure to get the kill. That wraps up the updated change to Pulse and his heartbeat scanner. If you haven't already, please consider a like and subscribe to make sure you stay up to date on all the latest news, information, tips, tricks, reviews, and more for Rainbow Six Siege. You can also follow me at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.